So I want to say something difficult to start, okay? And I'm going to talk about this next week in depth because we're going to do next week 1 week on sense making of conspiracy theories. Are conspiracy theories important? Are they valid? Right? Should we be, everyone on this call has heard lots of theories, right? Other than the virus started in the Wuhan market in China, right? Because of fundamental lack of sanitation and jump from animals to human beings. I believe that part of the story is correct, but there's all sorts of other stories happening out there. Are they valid or are they not valid? How do we look at them? It's enormously important because our information ecologies are broken. And when our information ecologies are broken, there's a failure of intimacy. We can't talk to each other. We can't share information. We don't know what to trust. When there's no trust, there's no intimacy. So we're going to talk about that. That's next week's church, sense making on the information ecology. What can we trust, right, on conspiracy theories? I want to just begin this week, though, by referencing something, okay? And this is a bit trusting our government's an issue, Tina, absolutely. Who can we trust? Who can't we trust? But there's no easy bad people here, right? Yes, Trump has a huge history of lies, right? We know that, right? And there's no obvious Trump bad guy here. It's much more complex than that. We have to know. But there are bad actors in the story. And the bad actors are not the American people or the Chinese people. Chinese people are awesome and beautiful. But the Chinese Communist Party is a bad actor. And I need to say it clearly. It's one of the things that the liberal community is aware of. Barack Obama was deeply aware of it, but everyone's afraid to say it for lots of reasons. And part of it is the refusal by liberalism to actually recognize evil. The liberal communities actually backed Stalin for many, many years. And it was tragic, right? Russian communism was responsible for probably twice as many brutal deaths as the Nazis. Okay? This is a big deal. And I want you to get this, everybody. It's a very big deal, right? The Chinese Communist Party in this story, right, is evil, right? I'm going to talk about it more next week. Right? And evil is a failure of intimacy. And I'm not talking about the individual people. The individual people are acting evilly, but the Chinese Communist Party, right, has actually killed millions of people in China and is acting aggressively around the world. This is unbelievably important to understand. And one of the things that the United States has historically played a role in, funding NATO, funding the United Nations, has been to be a bulwark against communism. Now, were there tragedies in the Cold War? There were. Do we need to transcend the Cold War? We did. Was Gorbachev an awesome move forward? He was. Did my friend Michael Murphy do great citizen diplomacy, right, in Russia during the Cold War? He did. Are Russians beautiful? Of course. But that's not the point. The point is that there's actually groups that come together that coalesce around negative intimacy. They coalesce around a drive for dominating power. And the Chinese Communist Party, right, has acted not just in the COVID-19 story, right, which we'll talk about more in depth next week, but on any number of fronts in ways that can only be described as fundamental violations of intimacy, right? There's probably 1 to 3 million people in concentration camps in China right now, and it actually needs to be said, and it's being ignored for lots of reasons. These things need to be addressed, okay? And I'm going to actually talk about this now in a bigger context right now, because essentially what the Chinese Communist Party is doing is acting out of what's called ethnocentric interest. Ethnocentric. In the United States, we don't want the United States to imitate that. The United States should be a strong country. We should make America great, but America is great holding hands with every country in the world. Does everyone get that? Intimacy means that there's shared identity, right? There's shared identity in the context of relative otherness, meaning individual nation states are beautiful. Does everyone get that? Individual nation states are totally beautiful, right? It's not enough just to love everyone. Of course we love everyone, right? And Nazism needed to be stopped. And we need to actually recognize evil. So there actually is, and this is part of the sense making, there are bad actors in the story. And not recognizing it will assure another series of pandemics, okay? So, and what the Chinese Communist Party is doing is expressing the shadow of ethnocentric intimacy. I'm committed to my nation, the power of my nation, to my people, and anyone outside of my circle is an other to be dealt with as an instrument, as an it, not as a full equal human being. Right? So that's really important to understand. Okay?